I've been tagged. Kim here, welcome back to my channel. I was tagged by Lisa at Brand New Book Smell. She is super sweet and super lovely, so please check her out. Her linky link will be down there. She tagged me in the I messed up book tag, which is wonderfully fitting for a person such as myself. The original tag was done by Read Like Wildfire, and I'll also try to remember to leave that linky link down there too. And let's do this thing. I'm reading this off my laptop down here, so. Number 1, a character appearance that you misread and imagined differently. That is a tricky one. I don't offhand really know. Okay, this is gonna be kind of a weird answer. Hermione from Harry Potter, because I hadn't actually seen the movies, but I knew who was cast and I'd seen clips and things before I actually read the books. I was a little late to the Harry Potter game, very sadly. Hermione, I just like had Emma Watson in my head. I'm not saying she was cast wrong. I just I feel like, just that for the movies, her hair wasn't bushy enough. And I feel like that's a really important feature for her in the books, is this sort of unkempt hair. And I just feel like when I was reading the books, I had to keep going, oh yeah, but her hair's whoa! And so, yeah, Hermione, okay, yeah, cool. Question 2, a character's name that you've been pronouncing wrong. Oh, whose character name do I pronounce right is probably a better question. Oh, I can tell you right off the bat. Just about every single character in the Song of Ice and Fire series. I read these in 2009. I don't think the TV show was even thought of when I was reading these. I did watch the first season of the TV show, and it was actually a pretty good for an adaptation. I was fairly impressed. In terms of an adaptation, I thought it was done fairly well. Just about every character in this book I mispronounced. I watched the first season of the TV show and I was like, oh, oops. So yeah, which is kind of happens in a lot of books. Number 3, an overused trope that is your guilty pleasure. Maybe forbidden love, you know? For lack of a better cliche, Romeo and Juliet, you're not allowed to be in love, but they fall in love anyway, and then it's super sweet. That's probably one I would pick. Just because, I don't know, there is something really sweet about that. It just is. I don't know, love overcoming obstacles kind of thing that I like. And it is overused very often. Yeah, it's sweet. It's sweet. Number 4, I gotta read this one. Okay, let's see. A cliche character type that you like better on screen than reading about. I know a lot the other way around, that I like reading about as opposed to seeing with my eyeballs, but that I like seeing instead of reading would probably be maybe somebody that's clumsy, in a comedic relief sort of way, or comedic slapstick sort of thing. I feel like that translates better on screen than it does in a book, just because you're seeing the comedy, it's not being described to you, so it just sort of happens and you don't have to think about it, so it's actually funnier. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say the clumsy comic relief character is better on screen than in a book. Number 5, a word or phrase that you learned because it was used in a book. Tyranny, like a tyrant. I remember reading about that in some fantasy book when I was very young, and I think I had to look it up, and then I learned it, and it was in a book. And I can't remember which book, but I'm pretty sure tyranny is the word. We're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with tyranny. There we go. Yeah, because that's the only one I can really think of. Number 6. Have you ever not read or completed a book that was required reading for school? Yes. And I will tell you exactly which book it was. Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. I loathed that book. I think it was because it was just where I was at in my head in 8th grade when I was super angsty about school and I hated everything and I hated where I was. And it was just like, I just was really kind of mad at the world in terms of school. I just hated my school. I remember I actually switched schools at the end of that year. Like I hated my school so much. I tried-ish, I pretended to try to read it. And I got through some chapters, and then about 3/4 of the way through, when I wasn't skipping chapters, because I know I just skipped full chapters, but yeah, I don't think I ever actually finished it. And to this day, I do not like that book. I loved Huck Finn. We read Huck Finn later, a year or so later, 2 years later, I read Huck Finn for school, and I adored it. I thought it was really fun. But Tom Sawyer, because of where I was in my head, I hated it and I refused to finish it, and I just was obstinate and in protest about that book. The book's probably really good. Probably. Number 7. Okay, I'm gonna have to read this one. Have you ever skipped a chapter from the point of view of a character you weren't interested in? So when there's different points of view and the person who I don't care about, do I skip it? I don't. I will read it, but very distractedly, so I probably will have to read it twice. I don't skip it because I'm, usually there's an important plot point and that's why they're there, but I will read it begrudgingly. My mind will probably wander away. I don't usually skip. I'll skim, or I'll read the first and last sentence of paragraphs and things like that, but I won't just skip a chunk because I'm too afraid of missing something that might be important. Lastly, number 8, have you ever canceled social plans to read a book? I'm going to say most likely, although right now I cannot actually think of an example. I've been very relieved when plans have been canceled so I can stay home and read. Now that I think about it, in high school, I'm almost sure I had to have at some point, because there were some times in high school when it's I would skip class to sit in the hall and read. Does that count as canceling a social? I'd skip English class to sit in the hall and read a different book. I'm precious. All right. So yeah, so that is my I messed up book tag. Am I gonna tag anybody? Who am I gonna tag? I should tag somebody. I'm gonna tag 2 people, Jessica and Christina at Game of Tomes. I want to do the same. I'm gonna tag Allie at Allie Sugar. She's pretty cool. So I tag the girls over at Game of Tomes and I tag Allie from Allie Sugar. And yeah, that does it for this tag. I feel like I was slightly unprepared. That's cool. I'm a professional through and through all the time. Don't you know that? You should know that. I'm like a total pro. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe for more, please, and thank you. And I love you all. There's a really loud truck outside. Guilty pleasure. I don't know. This is a hard tag. This one made me think. Usually, I know exactly, but this one is blah.